A couple of months ago, my friends and I took a trip to Champagne. The land of a bubble, elegance, and occasional wallet damage. Actually, it was not that bad. Anyway, today let me reflect on the trip and let's relive this adventure together. Okay, so imagine this. It is 9 a.m. and we left Germany at 4 a.m. It is raining cats and dogs and we are already off to our very first stop, and that is Waris-Larmandier. A pretty small biodynamic producer. Okay, if you don't know what biodynamic means, think of same as organic, but kind of takes it to the next level with moon cycles and all kinds of magic. So apparently the producer has always been loyal to traditional practices. However, their 3 children, a sister and 2 brothers, to the protest of their mother, decided to convert to biodynamic or biodynamical practices. Let's just say there was a little conflict. Actually, she kind of freaked out. She was the one who received us in the beginning, and she was like, I still remember those times, they were not cute. Kind of. And it's funny because I think this generational conflict between the kind of a kiddo and a traditionalist parent is a very recurring theme in Champagne, especially when we talk about this smaller generation of growers, producers. So Waris-Larmandier got certified biodynamic in 2020, which is relatively new, relatively fresh. The mom approves now, and good for her because the champagnes are absolutely stunning. It was truly the best decision, and financially for them, as far as I understood as well, they're quite happy with the results. So the champagnes are very clean. Pure and clean. So the champagnes are very pure, very clean, very kind of have this precision, this very nice minerality. Just so you know, we're in the Côte de Blanc, which is a paradise for chalk and Chardonnay. So you can really feel this terroir in the wines, the kind of chalkiness of the soil and this just beautiful mineral brush that comes with it. I enjoyed it very, very much. Although I was not in the best mood, I'm not the kindest person. If someone makes me wakes me up at 4 in the morning and says, okay, let's go to Champagne. No. Anyway, that was really a fantastic way to kickstart the trip. Okay, next up we had an appointment with Hélène Charbaut, a daughter of Guy Charbaut. But also dude, same here. The daughter has a completely different aversion to what her father has. She wants natural expression. She wants spontaneous fermentation, minimal intervention, and all that jazz. Kind of let the nature do its thing. And you see, this approach to really breaking the chains of traditional winemaking is so on in Champagne. You can see the traces of it everywhere. And I think that really the winemakers or the producers who really succeed at that, or creating something special and really breaking the boundaries of those traditional lists, they really become cult wines that so many all over the world rave about. I kind of think that Hélène is one of the future stars because her wines are already on the rise, and she only makes 3 wines, but they are already so well known. We tried both her father's wines and hers, and she's amazing. I love to compare the first kind of get to know the personality of the winemaker, and then to see if that reflects in the wines. As cheeky as it may sound, it usually works because she was so joyful, she was so charming, this kind of quiet charm, but at the same time you can feel that there's so much energy behind it. So I think this really reflects that in her champagnes. And the cellars, wow, the 17th century cellars, really absolutely stunning. Okay, but the champagne also, yes. Somehow she manages to capture, this joy and youth in the bottle.
The Free Grapes variety, Pinot Noir, Meunier and Chardonnay. And also the 3 villages, Bisseuil, Mareuil-sur-Aille and Avenay-Val-d'Or. Here you have some reserve wine from my foutre in Réserve Perpétuelle. And so here it's a Chardonnay from Bisseuil.
Oh, I adore the labels too.
And the labels, are they related to the plots or?
Yeah, in fact, so I started with this one, the Pinot Noir over there and the Meunier. So I worked with an artist that asked to a panel of people that are wine lovers if they have to give a geographic form to a Chardonnay, which form they would give it, and the same for the color. So with all the answers, imagine the representation of the grape variety. So when you see the bottles, you can imagine that it's 100% of Chardonnay.
Anyway, if you ask me, I think she has a grand future in front of her, and we're gonna see, hopefully, if the father approves further on, she's gonna turn the estate into the right direction. Oh, then it was the time for an apéro in what's it called? Glupot, which is a legendary bar in Reims. If you ever in Reims, stop. I think they often stop. They open 24/7, and not 24/7, but they're mostly open. Jesus. Day 2 started with a tour in the Taittinger, the famous Taittinger. Yes, the Germans would go Taittinger. I'm gonna be honest. First of all, the cellars, wow, insane, absolutely insane. Ancient chalk caves that date back to God knows what. But the champagne, I mean, it was a very professional lady. She was, again, very professional. But the wines, I mean, the champagne itself, it was... I think everyone in our group would agree that we were more impressed by the scenery and the history than by the bubbles. That is not to say, I don't want to say that, you know, none of the champagne houses is worth the visit or you should buy. No, they're excellent examples. It was just that Taittinger was not one of them. Oh yeah, then to get the epic quest in the afternoon to José Michel, which we couldn't find. We spent like 300 years looking for that place. We first went to the winery, there was no one there. Then we went to one place, then another place. And we thought, oof, he's gonna be really mad with us and he's not gonna, the tasting will be difficult. But oh boy, it turned out to be so nice. One of the best on my list. The guy was really beyond generous and he gave us a little tour of his winery, which is such an impromptu winery. You know, it's so amazing after the Taittinger to go visit this very small winemaker to see, you know, how he manages this very small space and how he kind of tries to fit everything in there, and this it's still super charming, but it's the contrast couldn't be more stark. And he was just absolutely generous. He opened a bottle of 1971, excuse me very much, champagne for us. 1971. I didn't even know that those were drinkable, honestly. It was an incredible experience. So fresh. I never knew champagne could stay fresh and exciting for so long. Guys, for the evening we hit the bar, which is called Pressoir. Wow, imagine a wine bar where you get a visual wine list. And this visual wine list is in the cellar. You go down and then there's this church, like really, it was a very spiritual experience for a wine lover. You go in, there's this beautiful space and you can basically just pick up the bottle, get it and say, this is what we're gonna drink. They got a pretty good selection, I have to say. Such a genius, like a walk-in wine closet. So nice, so nice. And also this was the first time where I tasted the legendary Celos champagne. Okay, it was not from the Anselm Celos, it was from his son, Guillaume, who took over, I think in like 2020 or something. So it was his, but it was so stunning. I think it just immediately went up on my top list of champagnes. It was an amazing experience and I'm very happy that we found a bottle and then everybody agreed to share it with me, because price-wise I would never have managed to do it alone. These babies go up to like 500 euros a bottle. So obviously, nah. The next morning we had a visit at Larmandier-Bernier. Woo! Pierre Larmandier is an absolute legend for me. I've had his champagnes before, which, let me put it this way. For me, this is the most ripe and the most soft mousse ever in champagne. He has been biodynamic for about 20 years. And that's, guys, that's super long. That means that he has been one of the pioneers of biodynamic winemaking in Champagne. And also for that, he got quite a few side eyes from the fellow winemakers. Biodynamic 20 years ago in Champagne was not the best thing you could do, and everybody was super skeptical, and everybody was thinking that biodynamic winemakers are absolute freaks. Now, of course, it has changed, but it's super interesting to hear the story of the first kind of path makers in Champagne, and Pierre Larmandier-Bernier was one of them. Oh, I really really loved that he's using Austrian wood. Apparently he's a super big fan of Taittinger barrels. This is a very neutral wood, especially compared to the French wood, so it doesn't really influence the final product that much. But actually this is something that we heard from a lot of winemakers in the Champagne, that they love this Austrian Taittinger wood. Okay, now back to the style. So he makes a very ripe champagne. His philosophy is not to harvest the grapes too early. So he waits until the grapes are kind of fully ripe, which is something that most of the winemakers don't do. You want to get them as fresh as possible, where the acidity is super high. So in the end, you have this, kind of fresh, very crisp froth, and a lot of acidity as well for the freshness. And what he does is something very different, and you can see how you get that much elegance and ripeness from just letting the grapes mature fully, and you get this much riper style. And the mousse is also, it's kind of thick, but it's also ripe and at the same time elegant, and it's just a pure artwork, just like the whole place. Also, frankly, the attention to details on this producer is absolutely insane. Sometimes we should have a conversation which really flows, and he treated us to a very special bottle which he opened à la volée. That was a good moment though. It was a really good moment. That was a very good moment. And finally, before heading home, we visited Paul Gosset, a young and super hyped winemaker. Guy works with a vertical press, which we had a chance to see. His wines are sold out before they even hit the shelves, like truly wow. Partly because he only has like 3.5 hectares, which is very small. I think he's becoming one of the part of the cult wines. One of the guys was in a group, a good friend, and he is a very cool sommelier, and he was the one who managed to get an appointment with him, because apparently this is also not that possible. And he was like, oh, you can't, it's all sold out. He's been looking to get some bottles for his restaurant for a really long time, and yeah, it's just a privilege. I also very much enjoyed his rosé, and it was so cool, so we took a bottle of that and we drank it recently, and it was just, we had to decant it because that thing was really powerful. A name, guys, a name to remember, a producer to remember for sure for you. You're welcome. So that was our trip to Champagne. A rain, unforgettable bubbles, truly special experience. But really, for me, what stood out the most was this contrast between the small, passionate, mostly young winemakers and these historic, prestigious houses. Of course, we went pretty heavy on the small producers. This is exactly what excites me, that these smaller producers, growers, who maybe have to struggle in the beginning a little bit, but they are really on the rise. And they are the ones who really symbolize this diversity of Champagne and different styles. They kind of go a little bolder. They are willing to abandon long traditions and to try to experiment and to figure out something new, something exciting for the consumer. So seriously, keep exploring, stay curious, especially for those hidden gems, and you you guys, if you know any small producer that you particularly like, don't hesitate to let me know, because I would love to extend my list for the future trip to the Bubbles Kingdom. Okay, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and I'll see you soon.